And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strode across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now.
Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on CynicalBit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. The date today is the 5th of March, 2010. It is 8 p.m. British Standard Time. There isn't really such thing as a British Standard Time, which is why I'm now setting the standard for the British Standard Time. Ergo, this is the correct time that all other times must adhere to, and also pay tribute. In lesser times, it is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. Indeed. That fake time. The heretical time. The time that must be burned at the stake. Delicious steak. What I've got coming in for the show today, folks, many things. As always, we'll be announcing the winners, or indeed the winner, only one of these, unfortunately, of the StarCraft 2 contest. I'm not going to tell you when. Oh no. You're going to have to wait. Patience is a virtue seldom found in WoW players, so I tend to find. So keep an eye on the show and an ear on the stream, and you'll find out who wins a little bit later on the show. We've got the mailbag coming, and of course your chance to contribute to the show. It's the illusion of choice. You get to pick the last topic of the show. Email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Best one or easiest, whichever comes first, that one gets picked. We shall do that one at the end of the show. Content-wise, well, it seems that Blizzard decided to have another Twitter chat. And again, decided to schedule it about 2 hours after the end of my show. You know, the funny thing is, it sounds like a joke, but the first time they did a Twitter chat, they did it before my show. And I tore them apart, and I said one thing specifically: I bet they won't make the mistake of having a Twitter chat at that time again. Quote, verbatim. Go listen to it. Oh, look! Oh, dear. Oh, Blizzard, come on. Come out of the corner and stop crying. Ugh. Big meanies. Twitch chat, folks, we're covering that. Plus, announcements as to stat changes in Cataclysm. We're looking at that. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it a simple dumbing down? Is it going to ruin WoW as we know it? Or perhaps could there be a silver lining to this particular dark cloud? We'll find out later on in the show. Yes, indeed. What I would like to say before I go on is thank you to all those who reviewed the show. Tons, hundreds of reviews. Very, very cool, and a lot of really good feedback. I'm glad to see my stance against sycophancy is working rather well. Sycophancy is something I hate, folks. I'd prefer you to loathe me than love me. Really, that is kind of the point of this thing. That's what a lot of people don't seem to understand. Yes, actually, I am supposed to be an obnoxious bastard. And if you don't think I am, then quite frankly, there's something wrong with your head, imbecile. Lots of good feedback. I'm going to be implementing some of that feedback over the next couple of weeks, so you should definitely stay tuned in to Blue Please. Now, I won't be doing a Zerg Please tonight because I've got a couple of other things that I need to get done, I'm afraid. We've got some very cool stuff coming in terms of the StarCraft 2 coverage, so I would suggest that you keep your eyes and ears peeled. More I Suck at StarCraft 2 videos, plus some other projects in the pipeline coming sooner than you might think. It's going to be cool, folks. I can guarantee that. You are going to be blown away. And everyone else is going to be blown out of the water. That I can guarantee. Artillery the likes of you, which you've never seen. Gotta be good stuff. What else? Was there anything else cool? Well, I suppose I should, before I go on, give you guys a warning as to the new Trojan that's around, yes. Something rather unpleasant in the term of what's called a man-in-the-middle attack. This has only recently started being used in the last week or so. It is a Trojan that can, quote, successfully hack authenticated protector accounts. However, this is how it works. So, you get this keylogger and this Trojan, yeah? And when you enter your authentication data, instead of sending it to the Blizzard server, it sends it to a third-party server, yeah? And that third-party server then sends a false signal to the Blizzard server, which means that you're just going to get the authenticated code erroring out. Now, they've got about 10 seconds or so to put in that authenticated code, and they will gain access to your account that way. However, do not panic, for God's sake. One, it's easy to remove. You need to look for a DLL file called mcor, that's EMCOR, which is usually in your root directory users/your username/appdata/temp. Have a look. Make sure your antivirus is up to date, and bear in mind that this does not mean the authenticator is useless, not even close. The chances of this happening to you are astro-freaking-nomically low. Just bear this in mind. An authenticator is absolutely the best protection, and indeed, one of my guildies got hacked this week, and then another of my friends got hacked this week as well. Both of them had no authenticators. Use a damn authenticator, people. Go buy one. For God's sake. Barely any. Do I have to give some away on the show? Okay, we'll sort that out next week. Let's see what I can do. I'll give some authenticators away on the show. If you've got problems with getting one of these things, let me help you out. For God's sake, secure your damn account. The chances of a man-in-the-middle attack on you are so incredibly low. That does not mean you should discount it. And anyone that says otherwise, I give props, in fact, to a fellow over at WoW.com. Yes, indeed, I'm actually giving props to someone over at WoW.com. No, I am deadly serious. And I'm saying this as a direct result of him not going ballistic. No, really, not going absolutely ballistic about it and spouting yellow journalism. No, he was entirely sane. So, congratulations to him. I honestly can't remember his name, but if he's listening to the show, you know who you are. You wrote a good article. Well done. Keep it up. Let's see if the rest of your organization can maintain that level of integrity. Then we won't have to shout about you anymore. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Have time for other things. Right, okay, there we go. Let's get on with this.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks, it's mail time. It's the time where we read the mail. This should not surprise you in any way. But then again, it might be unexpected. It might be unfair, perhaps. Perhaps you will desire a nerf. Well, tough. You ain't getting it. You don't subscribe to my show. Oh, wait, I suppose you do. You don't pay for a subscription to my show. Oh, I guess some of you do. Just shut up, all right? Quiet. I'm talking here. Sit down, little children, and let me tell you a story. This one's going in for Banzi, and he says this. To the host that fills me to the brim with loathe and contempt. Not really. Oh! You're smashing my hopes up against the rocks there. Makes me sad. So, I've got a bit of an issue, he says. Well, don't we all? Which is now that the raid content is starting to bite back a little. Oh no, hard raid content. My guildies have suddenly decided their fish tanks all collectively caught fire and they must take a break. Oh, it's too hard. I'm stressed. Post-traumatic stress disorder from Ice Crown Citadel. Let me see the guild counsellor. Pansies. Right. So anyhow, this is what he said. I joined this guild about 4 months ago before ICC had launched. They were farming the crap out of 25-man TOC. Well, that doesn't take much. And they were wiping to the animal bosses in TOGC. Yeah, because the animal boss in there are actually a little bit difficult. Shock horror! Are you suggesting, in fact, that...
Not one, but two Jormungandr worms.
Put a stop to the uber progress of your guild? Inconceivable! I've done these, they're actually kind of hard. Anyway, I'll never get to the end of this email if I continue with these ridiculous derails. Would you like me to continue with the ridiculous derails? Please tell me in the IRC channel at irc.quakenet.org. # CynicalBrit, or click the chat button at the top of the screen on cynicalbrit.com. Yes, we do have web chat now, for you lazy bastards who can't get an IRC client. I don't want to. Yeah, it's too hard. Right. More derails. I've got loads of derails, they're great. Let's get on with this. So, when ICC dropped, we, along with the majority of the WoW raiding community, ransacked the first wing. They were feeling pretty good about themselves, while I felt disappointed, mostly in Blizzard for dropping what seemed to be yet another lackluster instance. No kidding. Then the Plague Wing dropped and we attempted Rotface first. That boss filled me with hope because he stomped our butts for not 1, not 2, but 3 nights worth of wiping. Festigut admittedly went down immediately after, but 25-man Putricide was a nightmare for them to wrap their heads around. Yes, it is. Problem was that during and indeed after Festigut, people started dropping off the radar. Some would give the usual canned RL excuses, some would just vanish. We were at the point now that in order to raid, we need to bring in third, the backups of the backups, and kin, basically friends and family, just to fill the raids. The problem here being that these people don't pull enough DPS or healing to justify their raid spot. The guild as a whole is recruiting again, but recruitment on a stale server takes time, and the expansion, burnout as I like to call it, is creeping closer every day. I want to finish ICC, but I love this guild up until this point. So at what point do guild loyalties and personal loyalties clash? And when, if ever, is it appropriate to break it off with your guild over lack of progression in search of a guild willing to put forth the effort? That's from Banzi. Level 80, Trollmage, Storm Rage US. Okay, that's a lot of different questions. So let's start with one. When is it acceptable to allow guild loyalties and personal loyalties to clash? Always. Personal loyalties must always take priority over guild loyalties. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get that straight. Real life more important than video game in every conceivable scenario. But here's the thing. Generally speaking, unless it's blindsided you, this should not be a factor. I've got RL stuff to do as well. I gotta go to work every day. I've got all this stuff to put on my website. I've got my second job to deal with, i.e. the website. I've got shows to put on every single day of the week. I've got my guild to raid with. I've got other things to do. And of course, in that time, I've also got to squeeze in family time with my wife and son, despite the fact that we're not even in the goddamn same country, which I might add actually makes it a little bit harder to do. So I've got to put in a little more effort there. Webcam, Skype chat, and all that good stuff. And you know how I do that? I do it in the way that any other grown-up does it, that knows what they're doing. They schedule their life. I want to raid, but I also want to do all this stuff. That means I've got to look at my schedule and say, will this work and how do I make it work? Do I get to work on time every day? Yes. Do I miss a day of work? No. Do I take days off work simply to play World of Warcraft? Well, every now and again I do, but that's because I'm entitled to holiday pay. I don't take sickies, I don't pull sick days to go and play games, but no, I will take my entitled holiday pay because I am entitled to that money. I'm entitled to those days off. Everyone in my company is. So yeah, I'll happily book a day in advance to go play a new video game release because I want to. Or alternatively, I'll do what other people do. I'll book a day off to go on a night out, or to go visit friends, or to go visit some part of the country, or just to take a day to kick back and relax. That's fine. That never interferes with my raiding, and vice versa, my raiding never interferes with my life. Because I don't let it. It's as simple as that. But if you do, and if you do end up in a situation where you're blindsided by something like that, then yes, absolutely, it should take priority. It's real life, folks. It absolutely has to take priority. And if your guild doesn't understand that, then that sucks. Of course, the problem is that some people make an excuse out of it. They say, oh, well, I've got to do this. I've got a family dinner here, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, surely you knew about this before, and you couldn't have just told us this now. But at the end of the day, it's difficult to determine whether or not people are telling the truth, so you've got to take it on a case-by-case basis. But yes, RL greater than raiding, always. Always. I had a housemate at one point, some of you probably know me, he went by the name of Kiki Jiki, and he skipped a really awesome gig in order to raid. And you know what he said a couple of weeks afterwards? I'm an effing idiot. And yeah, he was. He was stupid. Why? Why would you just raid instead of going to a cool gig, man? Seriously. It's not like you didn't have enough time for raiding other times. You don't have to play WoW all the time. You don't have to play games all the time. It's very easy to have a balanced life. You just need to work at it. Sit down, work your life out, get yourself scheduled, and then adhere to it. How hard is that? Now, his other question is, at what point when is it ever appropriate to break it up with your guild over lack of progression? Whenever the hell you want. At the end of the day, the loyalties that you've attached to your guild are almost entirely superficial. They don't really exist in the long run. You joined the guild to progress. Yeah, I assume so. Did you join the guild because of friends? Because that makes it a little bit tricky. But if you joined that guild to progress, and that progress ain't happening, then absolutely you should bail on them and find another guild. Don't just do it and say, hi, bye, guys. Say, look, this is the problem. Now, some people might be willing to put in the effort to make the guild better, but sometimes it's not worth the hassle. That I can tell you for a fact. Been there, done that, got the frickin' Cheeto-stained and Mountain Dew-stained t-shirt to prove it. Simple as that. Do you have to do it? No. You are not obliged. You can, and you never know, you might even succeed, and you'll feel good about that, but I'll tell you for a fact that most of the time you won't. You won't feel good about it, and you won't manage it, because people in general suck and are unreliable. Find people that share your attitudes and share your particular work ethic. That's the best advice I can offer in that respect. Why am I turning into an agony ant? Agony in the most literal sense of the word, ladies and gentlemen. My name is TotalBiscuit. You are listening to the one and only Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. Brand new Illuvitate, folks. This album only just came out. I'm going to play some for you right now. It is absolutely fantastic. Go buy it on Amazon. Such a great album. This is called Sempiternal Embers. I'll be right back after this to talk a little bit about stat changes. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Please. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on CynicalBrit.com. And now for the latest in raiding news. A union of all the bosses in Northrend is protesting outside of Azeroth's highest court, demanding that a huge number of guilds be banned for what they called leet hacks. We spoke to the leader of the group, Mr. Putricide, who had this to say. Terrible news, everyone! We're getting steamrolled on a weekly basis by thousands of guilds, and it's all because of UGT Ventrilo servers. Crystal clear, low-latency voice-over IP allows guilds to communicate quickly and effectively, so they can down bosses with ease.
Sir?
What is it, Rodface?
We have a UGT server too, sir! We got it from UGT-servers.com!
What? Why wasn't I invited?
Well, Arthur said you were too cheery, and he's concerned that your malleable goo will stain the carpet.
Your guild is a community, and communities want to stay in touch. Whether you're in an intense arena match, an epic raid, or just hanging out and shooting the breeze, you need an always-on Ventrilo server from UGT-servers.com. Crystal clear quality, low latency, and of course, low prices. UGT-servers.com are so good, they should be considered an exploit. Get yours today. You're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. Content has happened. And we got a contest, but I'm not going to tell you about it because I'm mean and unreasonable. Yes, quite. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the stat changes. We've known for a while that these were going to happen. It was announced at BlizzCon. To boos and cheers and MP5 gone. Spell power gone. That was a good one. I remember watching and listening to that. Oh yes. I thought they were going to be lynched. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, so there's going to be a massive set of stat changes in this particular expansion. Mythical, mystical, magical. Well, not really magical, because they've got rid of spell power, so I suppose it's just mythical and indeed mystical. We're just going to have to do with 2/3 of the whole package. Let's talk about it, shall we? Enix has posted a rather long post here, so let's go and have a look and see what he has to say. You can read along with me via the benefit of MMO Champion, the place where all the good stuff comes from. Yes, MMOchampion.com, go check it out. So here we go. Now, Anix is trying to give an explanation as to why all of these stats have been changed. So, here's the big ones. Right, stamina. Because of the way that we will be assigning strength, agility, and intellect, non-plate wearers will end up with more stamina than before. Health pools will be much closer between plate wearers and other classes. Okay. Fair enough. Nothing to say about that, really. Spirit, let's try that one again. Spirit, come Cataclysm. This stat should only be found on healing gear. Yes, Spirit is terrible. Spirit is terrible, and I hate it, and it's gone from my life. So yeah, I hate Spirit, as you can probably hear. It's absolutely terrible. Yes, bye-bye Spirit! Non-healing casters will have other systems in place to regenerate mana. We are designing special solutions for Elemental Shaman and Balanced Druid, so often share gear with healers. More on this below. Raid buffs that currently boost spirits, such as Blessing of Kings, will only boost the primary stats of stamina, strength, agility, and intellect. We are also likely changing the 5-second rule and other quirks of the current regen system. Yes. Okay. That's good. Intellect will now grant spell power. More on this below. Intellect will also provide less mana than it currently does. Right, well, I am least affected by this because my intellect already provides me spell power, being an arcane mage. I'm okay with that. We shall see. Haste will become more attractive for melee classes by allowing them to recover resources such as energy and runes more quickly. Our intention is for Haste to let you do stuff more often. I like doing stuff. Vote for Aenix 2012. That's Aenix Morhaine 2012. What a great ticket that would be. Nerf America. Into the ground. Right, block rating. Block is being redesigned to scale better. Blocked attacks will simply hit for 30% less damage. Block rating will improve your chances to block. Shocker! Though overall block chances will be lower than they are today. Well, there you go. I don't understand a lot about tanks, but that sounds good to me. It seems like the parry system and the block system and everything don't really make all that much sense. So I'm glad to see that they're kind of sorting that out. So here's parry. Parry will no longer provide 100% avoidance and no longer speeds up attacks. Instead, when you parry an attack, it and the next attack will each hit for 50% damage, assuming they hit at all. In other words, dodge is a chance to avoid 100% of the damage, and parry is a chance to avoid 50% of the damage from 2 attacks. So you dodge 1 attack, but you can parry 2 attacks. So it's spreading the damage out as opposed to a avoidance spike. I imagine that would help healing a little bit, I would think. That would make a lot of sense. So block is a chance to avoid 30% of damage from 1 attack. So block is clearly inferior, but most likely it'll end up happening more often. So those are your 3 mitigation talents there. Or stats, indeed. So here's the stat that I'm really excited about. It goes by the name of Mastery, and it's a new stat that allows players to become better at whatever makes their chosen talent tree cool or unique. You mean I can conjure more water? Yay! Blizz, you're fantastic. I love you. I'll subscribe forever. 1 specialization, Mastery. Get 6.25% more 1 damage. The cries for nerfs on the forums. I hear them in my ears. They echo as if inside a large seashell that you find on the shore of a wonderful crystal blue sea. Yes, indeed, a seashell on the shore of a sea. It's a shocker, isn't it? And of course, when I find the seashell, I put it to my ear and I wonder what I shall hear in my ear. It doesn't work. So at the seashell I must leer. For the seashell does not allow me to hear in my ear. So I leer in fear. And I wonder, why am I rhyming? Why am I attempting to be poetic? Why must I leer at this fearful seal thing? One wonders where I'm going with this. I have no idea. So leer, the fear, and the sheer, and the deer, and the... yes, I have no idea where I'm going with that. Let's go. So, Mastery. Looks good. Looks fun. It's going to be dependent on what talent you choose, what spells you use. I'm doing it again, aren't I? Oh, God! Some kind of disease. So, you can expect things like, say, the fire tree to go a lot into crit. Maybe some extra dots, things like that. Arcane probably looking into haste, things like that. Maybe a little hit on one side and not so much on the other, because of course Arcane has more by default. Things like that. Mastery looks really cool. Now, of course, the idea behind Mastery is that they can take away a lot of the very passive talents and make more interesting ones, simply by bundling them all into this one idea of Mastery. Good. Armor. The way that armor mitigates damage is staying the same, but the armor stat will be rebalanced to mirror changes to the armor curve in Cataclysm. So bonus armor's going down slightly overall, and we're changing, so says Blizzard, the mitigation difference between armor types so that plate doesn't offer so much more protection than mail, leather, and cloth. I assume that's PvP related. Resilience. This will only affect damage done by players and critical damage done by players. It will not impact crit chance, mana drains, or other such effects. Well, there you go. Strength, agility, hit rating, expertise, and critical strike rating. These will appear on gear still, aside from situations mentioned above in the list. In general, these will function similarly to how they do now, though the details, such as how much hit rating you need, are going to change. Right, okay, so there's not a massive number of changes there. It's pretty light. Nothing anyone should really be confused or find particularly disturbing. Now, here's what they might find disturbing. Here's what's being removed. Attack power, spell power, armor pen, shield block value. So, attack power. It will no longer be present on items as a flat value, though it will still show up in some process. So most items this isn't going to be on. Strength and agility, which will be present on items, will grant the appropriate amount of attack power, which will generally be 2 attack power per point of either strength or agility, depending on what stat a particular class favors. Agility may provide less crit than it currently does. Spell power, gone on most items. Intellect will grant spell power. One exception is that caster weapons will still have spell power in order to make them proportionally more powerful to casters in the same way that they are for melee classes. That's absolutely fine. I don't see a problem with that at all. Armor pen, gone, but it will exist in talents and abilities. Shield block value, gone. The amount blocked is going to be proportional to the amount of damage done now, and talents and other effects might still modify the damage reduction percentage from 30%. Stuff that is gone completely. MP5, defense, spell ranks, weapon skill. MP5 stat will be removed from the game completely. Evidently, they decided they don't want you to care about MP5 anymore. In fact, they'd prefer that you didn't. That's a good thing. MP5's a terrible stat. Defense, being removed from the game entirely. Tanking classes should expect to become uncrittable versus creatures just by shifting into defensive stance, Frost Presence, Bear Form, and using Righteous Fury. I don't really know what to think about that because I'm not a tank. I'm sure some of you will have opinions. Email themurloc@gmail.com or tweet me. I'm sure you can send those over to me and perhaps I might read them if I'm feeling generous. Spell ranks, they will cease to exist entirely. All spells have 1 rank and will scale appropriately with level. The levels at which you can learn certain spells are being changed in order to fill some of the gaps, and we will be introducing some new spells. Hey! Good, to learn along the way. Spell ranks were generally pointless once they completely nerfed down ranking into the ground, so I really have no problem with this whatsoever. To the vast majority of people, this will be a transparent change and a welcome one. So there you go. Weapon skill, completely gone. Ask me why it existed to begin with. I can't tell you. There is no good reason for weapon skill. So it's about freaking time they got rid of it. Okay, so here's what else you're going to need to know. The combat ratings, as in stuff like crit, hit, etc., are going to be much harder to cap out at maximum gear levels. Ratings are going to be much steeper in Cataclysm. Yes, indeed, there were massive scaling problems in Wrath, as we saw by Icewell Radiance, as we like to call it, the big dodge nerf in Icecrown Citadel. They realized everything scaled up far too much, and it did. Creatures in later tiers of content will be harder to hit or crit, similar to how level 83 mobs are harder to hit or crit. So we might be getting an extra tier of difficulty in terms of mobs. I like it. It's delicious. Right. Here's the thing I am really excited about in Cataclysm. It's reforging. While these changes will go a long way to making a wider variety of stats more attractive, we understand that sometimes you simply don't want more hit rating. Or you'd rather have more haste than crit. In Cataclysm, we are giving the players a way to replace stats on gear as part of the existing profession system. As a general rule of thumb, you'll be able to convert one stat to 50% of another stat. While some conversions, like converting stamina to strength, will not be allowed, the goal is to let you customize your gear more. There you go. Great. That's something that, to be honest, I think has been in the pipeline for a long time and is way overdue. Really, it is. Giving players choice is important. I've always said this about the crafting system. The problem with the crafting system is that you generate these same items over and over again. And you know what? It would be kind of cool if there was a random element, or you could customize the items. Now, some customization came in the form of gems, but this is way, way more extensive. It's good. It's very good. I think the only problem I've got is that people might cry and complain that they broke their items. Oh no! What have I done? I've got to pay more money to fix it. I believe in choice, ladies and gentlemen. Individual choice. It's very, very important to me. And I think it's really important to this game as well. Not an awful lot of choice available in the game right now. Lots more to come by the looks of it. Reforging is exciting to me. So, here's the thing. Here's the big question. Does changing the stats make the game easier? Not necessarily. It could. Does it dumb the game down? Also, it could. But let me tell you this, folks. I've been playing WoW since launch. I've been raiding since I was able to. So I did Molten Core when Molten Core was still considered to be the end tier of content. I raided every dungeon bar one. Yes, Sunwell, didn't get the chance. Every dungeon bar one, all the way up until now. And you know what I found? It takes me mods and external applications to work out which piece of gear is better these days. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a broken system. I should never need a spreadsheet or an external application to work out whether or not something is an upgrade for me. I should be able to do that in my head. I should be able to see at a glance. Yes, I might have to think about it a little bit, but I shouldn't be breaking out the spreadsheets and raw and Simcast and stuff like that, whatever the hell you call it, Simcraft, to get it working. To work out what exactly I'm supposed to be taking. That is a bad system. It is. It shows the cracks in the current system. They've stacked too much one upon another, and the foundations of the system are now extremely shaky. Players can't figure it out. My wife, who's been raiding since launch, longer than me even. She raids with Insidia's off guild. She raids with D&T. She's raided with all sorts of other good guilds. And she's got to use Raw. And you know what? Raw doesn't even spit out the right values half the time for Shadow Priests. If we can't work it out, how do you expect the average player to work it out? You want players to be better, then first they have to learn exactly what their class is all about. And they can't do that if stats are broken. They can't figure out what gear is better. That has got to change. That has got to be dealt with. This is the opportunity to fix the system. This is the opportunity to streamline it and rebuild it from the ground up better, stronger, faster. They can rebuild it. They have the technology. Do you want to see that happen? I want to see that happen, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I do. And I hope that it works out well. If it doesn't, well, hey, there was other games to play. My name's TotalBiscuit. You are listening to Blue Please here on cynicalbrit.com. For our live listeners, enjoy the sounds of new Fintroll, Et Noshkindad. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Please. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on cynicalbrit.com. Yes, indeed, folks, you're listening to Blue Please here on cynicalbrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. Great sounds from that album. You should absolutely go and have a look for that one. If you're an archive listener, you missed out on that, so go rectify it. Niflvind is the name of the album. The name of the track was Et Noshkindad, and the artist was Fintroll. Go have a look for it on Amazon, folks. It's extremely cheap. It's well worth having. It's a fantastic band and a fantastic album. Right. Let's get on with it. There was a tweet. And then there was another tweet. And then there was another tweet. And then there was a veritable cavalcade of tweets. They were twittering. They were tweetering. They were...
dare look upon the host of souls! I shall devour you all!
that. I'm alarmed. There was a Twitter chat, ladies and gentlemen. They keep doing this. This time they decided to do it after my show, just like the last one. They learned from their first mistake. I applaud them for that, honestly. But that means I get to be the one that ends it. I get the last word. Yes, Blizzard, you can't escape my wrath. Let's have a look at it. Next 2 seconds of the show is going to be about this, folks. This is where all the magic happens. Yeah, baby. That's really disturbing. Let's have a look at this Twitter chat, folks. You can read along. Go check it out on MMO Champion, linking it in the chat room. Of course, if you're listening to the archive, link is available in the cynicalbrit.com show notes. So, let's get started from the top. Haha. This happened on the 26th of February, ladies and gents. Let's get going. Question: are there any plans for more weekly quests, not raid but general, for the weekend-only players? Answer: I like weekly quests because they get you to come back to WoW without making you feel like you have to log on every single night. Sometimes Ghostcrawler likes to go to the bar instead. Thank you, Ghostcrawler, that's really useful. So, maybe, we don't know, because Ghostcrawler's being a frat boy arsehole. Thanks, Ghostcrawler. Let me guess, you go to the bar and you order some natty ice, and you kick back, and you listen to some 50 Cent, and you be hitting on the honeys, yo. And it doesn't happen. Because, in fact, you have no game. That's what I've been told. Reliable inside sources confirm that Ghostcrawler has no game. Now, what you think about that? Next question. What happened to the advertised dance studio for the Wrath of the Lich King expansion? Answer: it's still on the list. The list, ladies and gentlemen. So I will answer this in the appropriate tone. It is still on the list. We will always start an expansion with more than we can realistically do, and then shuffle things up and down. WoW is one of those games you just never finish, which is overall a fun thing about working on it. Easy to advisor. That's the answer to that one. So, Dance Studio, coming some point, maybe 2012, maybe 2015. Do I care? No, because it's the most pointless feature ever devised by man. Who cares? Dance Studio. Yeah, it was really worth spending all of that time creating new animations for all of these different things when you could be creating new animations for bosses that look like they're flailing in the air against the enemy. How can I take that seriously when every boss attack looks exactly the same? Flail. It's like those stupid freaking hardcore straight edge kiddies that used to be at those gigs. I was at a gig a long time ago for a band called Amen, and stupid hard X-core kiddies, man. Windmill thing, they called it. They spun their arms around until I, of course, stomped on one of them's foot and then hit them in the face. Yeah, it's a mosh pit. That's what happens, folks. It's entirely morally and ethically justifiable. Knock that idiot on his arse. Right, here we go. Next question. What is the one thing you're the most proud of in regards to how the Wrath of the Lich King expansion went? I'll tell you what I'm the most proud of, that we survived it and that we're coming to the end of it. Anyway, questing in Northrend took on a whole new meaning, and I can't wait for people to see what happens to Cataclysm. Yes, that's the only good thing. Even Blizzard realizes it. Even Blizzard realizes that that was the only good thing about Wrath. There was another answer here. It had a really strong theme with the Frozen North, and you knew from the beginning that a final showdown with you-know-who was coming at the end. One of the challenges of Cataclysm is not having that really focused theme, cold and undead, but Cataclysm still has a great story. Yeah, there you go, see? Even Blizzard realizes what the best bit of Wrath is, and no one actually disagrees with that. The questing, the themes, the story, this perpetually present antagonist, those were the good things about Wrath, and everything else was terrible. Except for bits of Ulduar, and maybe hard modes. So, next question. Is there any chance that tabards will eventually get their own tab in the character screen? Oh, why do we care? Next question. Will you give us more bag and bank slots to make us able to carry more bags at a time if I say please? We'll have larger bags in Cataclysm. There you go. Okay. That's no surprise to anybody! They have larger bags in every expansion. What a wasted question. Next one. Are there any plans to implement cross-faction, cross-realm mail for BOA gear? We have cross-faction mail for BOE gear. What am I saying, BOE? What the hell's a BOE when it's at home? It's some kind of mystical snake found in the outback of South Australia. A BOE. Perhaps some kind of African tribal dance. Yes, I will dance the BOE in order to impress the tribe. And perhaps make off with the leader's daughter. BOE. What am I doing? Yes, apparently, you should be aware of this by now. BOA items can at least be sent cross-faction. Cross-realm is in the works, but we hope to have it done soon, TM. Yeah, sometime in 2037. Are we ever going to be able to get the real Frostmourne? No, but you can order one. That's so shameless. No, but you can buy our $450 replica from epicweapons.com. Jeez, God. Blizzard, you have no shame. Right, okay, moving on to the classes, ladies and gents. Does Blizzard have any plans to give healers fun procs and on-use effects like DPS have been getting lately? No, healers must be punished. The real answer. Yes, healer procs are trickier to design though. We want to make sure they aren't wasted. Damage is rarely wasted, so it's a bit easier to design for. Procs are good. I like procs. Procs are awesome. Alright, loads of really specific stuff to classes. Nobody cares. Skipping all of it. Because there's not a single thing about mages. I'm going to be honest here, I don't care about this. You can go read it in your own time, and I can't comment on it anyway because I play a mage and not a freaking moonkit. Because I picked a proper class. Raids and dungeons. This is what I care about. Is the Valatheria Dreamwalker encounter a deliberate move towards making WoW more fun and interesting for healers? The healers are really crying these days, aren't they? Will we see more encounters like this? Answer is this. We want to make healing more fun. Part of that is letting healers use their whole repertoire instead of just their best spells. Part of it is trying to get healers to look at the battlefield a little bit more and unit frames a little bit less. That, of course, means a little more time in between spamming heals, so you can do stuff like that. Yeah, interesting. Let's see how that goes. I don't play a healer, but I can understand that my healers might want to do something else other than play whack-a-mole with grid. Next question is this. What have you learned from the expansion's emblem system? Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Having that many different kinds of emblems is overwhelming. In hindsight, we wish we'd done maybe two emblems, the current tier and the previous tier, Frost and Triumph at the moment. They also felt a bit too grindy when 3.3 first came out before all the sources of emblems were available. That's what you're going to say about it. Really? You're not going to acknowledge the fact that emblems were terrible? That you completely ruined the concept after patch 3.2? They won't accept it. They will not accept that giving all of this gear for doing 5-mans is stupid and absolutely idiotic. And that if they want to make sure that players can get into the raid game, they need to do it in a different way. They want to gear up alts and new players, they've got to do it in a different way. I hope that it will not be the same in Cataclysm. That's all I can say about that. I do not agree with giving away epics. No, I don't. Epics should be for epic content. Epics are meaningless these days. Therein lies the problem. They are no longer epic. You might think that that's not all that important, but quite frankly, if epics weren't epic, I'd have never got this! You see how important that is? You see how besmirched I feel, Blizz? Next question is this. With Illidan, you removed attunements to give players more accessibility to the instance, so why have you limited pre-Ulduar geared players from using the Dungeon Finder to enter the new 5-player dungeons that were released in patch 3.3? That is like the absolute worst comparison. Talk about a false dichotomy, ladies and gents. So, here's the answer, and it's a good one. We feel like players using Dungeon Finder need some reasonable guarantee that the other players they get grouped with are going to be able to pull their weight. We don't yet have a robust system for tracking that other than gear. Gear obviously has its problems, so we're looking at smarter ways to do it in the future. The second answer was this. Gear requirements are a way for us to help the players have an experience that is more in line with their skill level. We would much rather you not be able to get into the instance than to have you get in there with a group and find out that you can't even tank the first boss. Gear requirements are not locked in stone either. We were updating them as we see fit. Yeah, that's entirely reasonable. What kind of stupid comparison is this, anyway? It's like, well, okay, so back in the day you removed attunements for raid stuff that only about 2 or 3% of people actually managed to kill. So, I'm doing this in the style of a teen comedy, incidentally, most likely involving drugs. So, that means that you should remove the limitations in the Dungeon Finder for new 5-player dungeons that were released in patch 3.3. Did you even think that through before you sent that question in? Now you look like an idiot in front of the entire WoW population. That doesn't even make any sense. It's non-related. It's raid content versus 5-mans. 5-mans that you do on a regular basis, raid content that is way more selective, and that's not even involved in the dungeon fighting to begin with. So, Blaze, you're putting a new battleground in this patch, so can you tell me exactly when the 11th class is being released? Because I think somehow these are tangentially related. Just go to hell. Next question. You talk a lot about changing how we heal tanks, but will aggro ever come back as a challenging part of the game? God. So, it's a good question. Let's see what they have to say about this. Not sure. This is something we discuss a lot. I even had a meeting on it this week. On the one hand, some tanks felt like the way to distinguish themselves was to generate maximum threat per second. Yeah. Okay, what else are they going to be doing? The point of a tank is to keep threat. Of course that's the way to do things. On the other hand, threat is a pretty invisible part of the game. It's limited to the UI at best. And I know when I tank that I always feel pretty emasculated when someone actually pulls off of me. It's challenging, but is it really fun? This is the kind of thing we want to get more feedback on. But that doesn't even make any sense either. It's like, yeah, I understand that tanking should be made more interesting, but that doesn't address the question. It's a dodge. Yeah? Will aggro ever come back as a challenging part of the game? Other than not sure. That's all you got to say, and then there's some tangent over there. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things that were good parts of the game which have disappeared in Wrath and should be dealt with. CC is one. Aggro is another. Aggro should be handled. No, DPS should not be able to go all out all of the time, and tanks should, of course, be dependent upon to generate maximum threat. That is what they're there for. Accept that. I can't imagine why they'd just take that out of the game. Too hard, maybe. Next question is this, folks. How do you feel about the limited attempts mechanic that has been used in Trial of the Crusader and Ice Crown Citadel? They say, we're not crazy about how they worked out. Really. They were designed in essence to save players from themselves. In the past, some people would make 400 plus attempts on new boss. That's not healthy. At some point, you're not measuring skill but tenacity. Yet, that's not what happened. Guilds just made ults to get around the limitations, and things like disconnects and accidents made losing an attempt really frustrating. Yeah, Blaze, you should have realised this. Like, it's okay, guys. We can totally fix the problem, quote-unquote, of hardcore guilds. We're definitely, absolutely, without a doubt, want to get rid of choice. Individual choice within the game. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's got to go. Individual choice is dangerous. Scary. It might even be involved, oh God, in a world where individual choice has been removed. One company is here to save the day. Coming this summer, no choice whatsoever in your MMO. Rated PG-13. Oh dear. Oh God. You don't have the right, Blizzard, to tell people how they should and should not play. If people want to raid a boss 400 frickin' times, then for God's sake, let them. It serves no purpose to limit it. Like you said, they just created ults. What the hell did you think was gonna happen? Oh, I'm sorry, guys, we're out of attempts, so please log off for the rest of the week. Don't be incredibly stupid, please. In fact, don't even be slightly stupid. Don't even be stupid in a sort of moderate manner. Don't be stupid in any way. For God's sake, where's your foresight? This is your game. You're the ones who are supposed to realize what's gonna happen. This is obvious to anyone. We saw this coming a mile away. Why didn't you? Why didn't you? We'll be back with more from the Twitter chat after this break, folks. You want some more Frank Lepaki? Yes, of course you want some more Frank Lepaki. What a stupid question. I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you it now. Ready for some Act on Instinct remix? Enjoy.
We're going to have to act if we want to live in a different world.
You are listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBread.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. Right, I suppose I kept you in suspense enough. Let's announce the winner of the contest. The contest was to leave a review, folks, on iTunes, and we've had hundreds. So I'm going to pick one winner for a StarCraft 2 beta key, and of course, thank you to everyone who did review it. The feedback is really valuable, not only in promoting the show, but allowing me to fix various elements of it. And you will see the results of that over the next few weeks, that I can guarantee. So I'm going to pick a name out of the hat, folks. So I'm going to go into my email account, and I'm going to load up all of the stuff that I've got tagged here. And we shall pick one at random. It's got nothing to do with what was in the interview, or indeed the review. Interview? What the hell am I talking about? I'm picking one at random, ladies and gentlemen. I'm closing my eyes right now. And I'm clicking. And the winner is... Yes, this is suspense, folks, yes. It's very scary. Jan Brower, also known as Scroozy. Congratulations, you win the StarCraft 2 beta key. Get in touch with me, themurloc@gmail.com, with the email address that you sent yours in, and you shall receive a StarCraft 2 beta key. If I get more, I will absolutely sort you guys out. Don't worry about that. Thank you to everyone who entered. Condolences. I'm sure you will get in some other way, and I'll try and facilitate that one for you. Okay, let's get back to the content, shall we? Got plenty more to do. So, we're back to the Twitter. The tweeter, the twatter, the twatter. So, we talked about the limited attempts, and that was terrible. So, are there any plans to allow cross-realm raiding? Answer, if we can solve the problems with it, we might give it a try. One of the issues is getting the group back together, especially on the longer instances. Loot drama and stuff like that is always a problem. There's an ongoing concern about the concept of your realm having less of a community. Yeah, I think we've gone far enough with this kind of thing, I'm afraid. I can understand the nature of quick pickup groups being a pain in the ass, but raids should be planned. Raids should be done with guilds or at least groups of friends. Doing it cross-realm, I could see how it would have some benefits, but the number of problems, in my opinion, simply outweighs the benefits of that. Okay, question. Do you consider Algernon to be a successful raiding counter, or will we see more hard mode-only bosses in the future? We were actually really happy, answer, with the way that Algernon played out. We designed him with a very specific sort of raider in mind, and those that got a chance to fight him really enjoyed it. Encounters like Algernon will not be in every raid zone, but we would like to do something like this again for sure. Great! Fantastic. Good news there. I like that, considering there's been some nasty rumours that Algernon will be appearing in VOA. Ah, God, I hope that doesn't happen. Ugh, that would be horrible. They'd ruin it. Absolutely ruin it. Please, Blizzard, don't. For the love of God, don't do that. But yeah, Algernon was great. I've never seen him. I intend to. He's just sitting there. Hasn't been nerfed, just sitting there waiting. I want to get that item level 226 achievement. The one where you've got to wear level appropriate gear. I've actually been keeping my set specifically for that occasion and perfecting it for when we finally go in there and kill Algernon 10 on hard mode. Not, of course, there is no hard mode of Algernon 10, that's the point. But yeah, that looks great fun. So let's continue, shall we? Will we be seeing more Caverns of Time in Cataclysm? We'll definitely have another trip to the Caverns of Time during Cataclysm, but we're going to have to ask Chromie for more details. Ha ha ha! An RP reference! That was written by either Fangtooth or fricking Metzen, wasn't it? Probably both. I think Fangtooth is actually Metzen, and Metzen is Fangtooth. He disappeared under very suspicious circumstances, at which point Metzen started to go a little bit crazy. Coincidence? I think not. All this and more in the Twilight Zone. Right, what happened to the raid-wide buff in Icecrown Citadel? Did you trash that idea? No, it's still in the works, and indeed, actually, since this Twitter chat went out, it has started. Oh, yes, the debuff, or the buff, or whatever the hell you call it. 5% extra, and of course that's going to be scaling. Because Lord knows we don't want to extend our content, do we? It's so terrible. Like, you came up with content that's supposed to last you all the way through to the end of this year, and you're gonna make it easier? Are you insane? Do you want to lose subscribers? Is that what you're after? Do you want to actually annoy the hell out of people? Is it? If that's what you're after, that's cool. I get it, really. I understand. If that's your business strategy, then more power to you. But good lord. So, our guild has decided that we are turning it off. We ain't having it. Not gonna happen. I don't care if it's optimal or not. We are not having it. It's BS, and quite frankly, if Blizzard actually wants to support those who play the game properly instead of accepting handouts, they should at least put a title or achievement in.
Let's have a title, let's have an achievement for those who did it without it. Recognize that accomplishment. Do it. Question, what did Yogg-Saron have to do with the Lich King? It seems like a strange tangent to make in the middle of an expansion. But... okay. Let's move back a second, shall we? Let's have a look at vanilla. Strange tangents include Nefarian, Ragnaros, Chthon, Kel'Thuzad, Onyxia, Hakkar, Assyrian. All of them are tangents. They have nothing to do with each other. They don't have to have anything to do with each other. Really, they don't. There can be more than one nasty, big, bad evil in the world. They don't have to be directly related. Anyway, the RP reason for this. Did you do the quests in Icecrown? Quick answer, the existence of an old god in Icecrown had a lot to do with the ability for mortals to become corrupted. Dun dun dun! RP plot point that nobody cares about! Next question. Will the dungeon finder get upgraded to possibly track or detect players who abuse the kick system and non-injuring? Answer, we are toying around with the idea, but it's hard to let you use it when needed without letting others abuse it. Except there is no way to code out douchebaggery. It cannot be done. If you're in a group, you're entitled to loot. Simple as that. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. There is nothing to be done about it. Sometimes it happens, get over it. Sometimes you get kicked for doing 1.5k or lower DPS. Deal with it. You don't want that to happen? Then for God's sake, be better. Fine, try and refine the system. But at the end of the day, you've got to accept that player choice is paramount, and sometimes the choice will be one you do not like. And the majority, greater than the minority. Next question. Why have we not seen world bosses in the expansion? Answer, they just have problems. It's always a race to get to them. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? Racing competitive? No. We've got to sit back and all be nice to each other. Perhaps we raid the boss of flowers and puppies and kittens and lollies, and we shall say, yes, we are a bunch of wusses. No. Screw that. Of course there's going to be a race. There's got to be a bit of competition. So, it's always a race to get them, which tends to favour large groups who are online often. You're saying that people that play the game more might have an advantage over those that don't? Insanity! We'll have a movie at 11. It's hard to discourage and even prevent players outside the raid from helping or screwing things up. World bosses are something that we've been talking about more as of late. We really like the concept, but there are certain design problems we'd like to address before we bring them back. Stay tuned. Okay, so we might get some stuff. Well, I'm sorry, but the solution has already been brought up. Yeah, the racing happens. Not everyone needs to kill every boss in the game, and indeed they don't. Why do you think you can have hard mode bosses and yet not have world bosses? Okay, fine. They die, they stay dead. Big deal. They are bonuses. They are not part of the main stream of content. They are not part of the main progression path. That is fine. It's options. Not everything has to be part of your grand bloody gearing scheme. Where are the choices? Where are the options? Give us the world bosses back. And if you want to solve the griefing problem, it's very simple. Once someone engages the boss, you get a big ring of power around the boss that says you can't enter until you are dead. And as a added bonus, that means everybody dies if they fail. That means no escaping, no running away. Everybody dies. Good, isn't it? See? So why aren't I on staff yet, for God's sake? I'm providing these solutions by just pulling them out of my arse. What's your excuse? You guys are supposed to be good at this. Okay. Next question is this. With the advent of heroic Shadowfang Keep and heroic Deadmines... Yes, which I am literally nonplussed about in every possible respect. Fear the excitement. I shall, in fact, simulate my excitement by portraying it in the form of an Elcor. Feigned enthusiasm, heroic Shadowfang Keep, and heroic Deadmines are the best things ever made. More feigned enthusiasm. I wish Blizzard would do more of this. Blatant lie. I really, really wish Blizzard would do more of this. Stay tuned for Elcor Hamlet and Elcor the Merchant of Venice. Dear Lord. Why do they want this? I mean, why do people want heroic Deadmines? Haven't you already seen what happens when they bring content back? They ruin it all the time. They have a 100% success ratio of ruining it. I suppose you could call that a 0% success ratio, 100% failure, whatever the case. Dear Lord. So, are there any plans to do this? Yes. Why? Stop it! Stop recycling your damn content. Dead Mines was cool because it was cool at level appropriate. It's not cool when you do it again. Same with Naxxramas. You'll just break it. I can't trust you with it. Like, no, you can't have the toy. Why not, Daddy? Why can't I have the toy? Because you broke it. I think I broke it! See? See what happens? This is what happens when you put XT002 in charge of raid design. It's terrible. Why would you do that anyway? How do you even fit him in the door of the office? You weren't even thinking this. So here we go. Apparently they're focusing on new Cataclysm dungeons first. Well, thank God, they're focusing on making new content as opposed to recycling old crappy stuff. Heroic Shadowfang Keep. Who the hell asked for that? And I know people ask for Heroic Dead Mines, but people are really dumb. Stop listening to them, please. I would actually like a game that's new, as opposed to a game that's something I've played 5,000 times before. Next question. If you could go back and redo or remove some feature that was added with Wrath of the Lich King, what would it be doing and why? I think the emblem system could be less clunky. Yeah, it could also be less stupid. It's not just a case of it being clunky, it's a case of it being entirely unbalanced. Why should you get tier 9 level epics for running 5-man content? Answer is you shouldn't. Simple as that. Deal with it. If you want to make people gear up, if you want to get alts to gear up easily, there's a way to do that. It's very easy. It's really easy. Crafted BOAs. Using materials gathered from raid dungeons. It's really easy. You've already got the systems in place. That's how you gear up an alt. That's how you do it. You don't have to run through all this stuff. You want to gear up an alt easily, then put in this BOA system whereby the materials come from raid dungeons. That means you are qualified to gain tier 10 level gear, so you are able to get tier 10 level gear. That's the best way to do it and keep it off limits for those that don't deserve it. It's really easy. As for new players, that's a trickier one. It really is. But it seems to me that there could be various systems brought in to encourage people to go back to the older content. Maybe mix it up a little bit. Add some new bosses, change some things around. Scale it. Scale the difficulty. Put in hard mode Naxxramas. Let them do that. Whatever. Something along those lines. Think about it. Okay. So they're also saying that limited attempts didn't really work out. Well, yes, that's rather obvious. We always had some tension about what a 10-player heroic really should be. Yes. I do wonder, what should a 10-player heroic be? Well, hard. Good. Properly balanced in terms of content. I mean, we've got a problem with ICC right now, whereby I think it was something like a drop from Lord Marigar 25 was better than the majority of gear from ICC 10 heroic, which is hard as nails. That's a problem. That's a real problem, Blizz. That's something you should be looking at. Deal with that. Scale it properly, for God's sake. Heroic 10 is absolutely harder than normal 25. No question about it. So give better gear. Proportions, ladies and gents. Proportional rewards. That's the way to do it. Okay, we're rapidly running out of time, so let's get a couple of Cataclysm questions done. Let's make a start. Will existing races have their starting areas reworked to provide a more epic experience? Well, not quite at the Worgen Goblin level, but we're looking at all the original start zones, especially for the two races who feel a little disenfranchised. Yes, we know. Nomergan's coming back. Echo Isles are coming back. Yes, I'll have a reason to level my Troll Druid again. Unless it doesn't have Vorpal form, in which case I will not level the Troll Druid, and I will be very upset. The 3.3.3 PTR included some unreleased event details. Should we expect to see that in the lifetime of 3.3.3? Something leaked in the patch that never happens. The plan is for those events to go live sometime before Cataclysm ships. We don't have an exact time yet. Yes, free the trolls. Sounds great. And we'll do one last one. In Cataclysm, do you plan on releasing 2 raid instances at a time, like Serpent Shrine Tempest Keep, or are we only getting 1 at a time, like Naxxramas followed by Ulduar? We like the idea of having more smaller raids rather than large... Sorry, I'm starting to channel the noises of the undead. We like the idea of having more smaller raids rather than one large one. In other words, yes, we will have more than 1 at Cataclysm launch. Yes! Thank God, Blizzard, listen! Yes, 6, 4, and 1. Cataclysm launch. Release them in batches. It's better that way, Blizz. See, they can learn. They can learn. I'm so happy. Ladies and gents, you are listening to Blue Please. We're going back right after the break with the illusion of choice. Get your emails in very quickly for this one. You want some Pantera? I don't care. You're getting it anyway.
You are listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Please. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on cynicalbrit.com.
Yes, indeed, folks, it's the illusion of choice! Blizzard does not allow choice. Blizzard is the thought police. However, we are not Blizzard, so you get a choice. Let's have a look and see what we have. This one's good. I like this. Let's go with this. My name is Holly Berry. I'm a level 80 druid from Feathermoon. Everyone say hi, Holly Berry. Hi, Holly Berry! Oh, God. Hey, TotalBiscuit, I was reading Big Bear Butt's blog. Why? Why were you doing that? Why would you read that blog? Seriously. That guy's known for making up a lot of crap. Let me put it that way. Anyway, he brought up an interesting point. Well, he does do that from time to time, I will admit. Generally speaking, it's borrowed from other people from about 6 months ago, as people have forgotten who posted it originally, but hey. A lot of players are looking forward to Cataclysm. Shocker. They seem to think that it will turn Vanilla WoW 0.0 into Vanilla WoW, WoW 2.0. Okay. So, now, while Blizzard has said that they're wanting to freshen up Azeroth, but with 5 levels of new endgame content, and of course, having to fill that with enough to keep players engaged, do you think hopes are still too high? Blizzard has admitted, if I recall, that most zones are getting minor changes, trying to slash quests and make things more streamlined, but it's still mostly the same zones. Do you think players are getting their hopes a little bit too high, and that's going to taint the launch of Cataclysm? Okay, here's a universal truth for you. Players are subject to various issues, including self-inflicted hyperbole and utterly unreasonable expectations. Is this going to take the launch of Cataclysm? No. Why? Because they don't matter. Nothing these people say is remotely important. At all. So, here's the thing. These people will complain and they will whine and they will come up with all of these different interpretations and nobody will listen. And they won't cancel their subs because they are too invested. If I've learned anything, is that WoW players have no cojones whatsoever, to the point where if they quit the game, if they actually manage to quit the game, and of course you then see them online a month later, they have to post about it. They think it's worthy of attention. Such nonsense, such garbage, such entitled, ridiculous attitude. No, it doesn't matter. So, I think that Blizzard revamping the world is a very good thing. I don't think they're going to go crazy with it, but I think it will be enough perhaps to interest me. I'm hoping they will take some of the lessons learned from Wrath and, of course, TBC and create some good stuff. I'm hoping they might revisit the dungeons. Really. I want them to go and have a look at the old stuff, the old dungeons, and see whether or not they can make them a little bit more interesting. Revamp those items like you did before. Make a few new bosses. Maybe change some of the existing ones. Change the trash around. Deal with the instances that just are absolutely horrible, like Sunken Temple. Deal with it. Make it so that I want to go through again, because I like dungeons, and if those dungeons are new and freshened up, then I will go back in them again. So I would suggest to Blizzard that they do that. As regards to questing, well, more stuff like Wrath. Sort out the storylines. Make things more interesting and more involved. Get some zone-wide antagonists involved in there. You know, if I'm facing off against something in a zone, then for God's sake, bring it into the story in a meaningful manner. Let me see it. Let me fight it. Let it kick my ass. Make that happen. Make leveling more interesting in that regard. As regards to the terrain, yeah, revamping the terrain is a good thing. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that. Making Desolus a little less boring, that would be nice. Making the Barrens a little less boring. Redesigning the quest hubs and making leveling an overall a better experience. This is what you got to bear in mind. It's going to have to be relatively extensive. And the reason for this is the recent announcement by, I believe it was Mike Mulhane, that said something like 70% of players don't get past level 10. Yeah, that's bad. They need to look into player retention. They need to look into extending the game's lifespan by encouraging people to do alts. The only way you're going to do that is making that content more interesting, folks. Really. Absolutely no way whatsoever that I am going to touch that with a 10-foot pole unless they make it more interesting. It's as simple as that. So just bear that in mind. Should be rather important to you, should be rather vital to look into that. I think they will, honestly. Because money talks, ladies and gentlemen. The expansion is a good opportunity to get new players into the game because it increases the shelf presence and, of course, there's a new marketing blitz surrounding it. Make it happen, Blizzard. Make it interesting. I will roll an alt. Give me Vorpaltinga form, and that alt will be a Troll Druid. The correct class. I think we're about done, folks. Let's get some shout-outs done. Email them into themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Now, while I am waiting for some shout-outs via that IRC and Twitter, that's at TotalBiscuit, of course, then I would like to talk very briefly about a ongoing contest going for another couple of days. If you want to win some extra GOG games for your collection, you can do that. It's a prize draw. Go and have a look at the Cynical Brit Twitter. That's twitter.com/CynicalBrit. Look for the message that says retweet this to win 2 GOG games. If we get more than 200 retweets, we will add additional games to the prize packages. So more winners will be available. Go do it. Go create a Twitter account if you don't already. Go retweet it. And that'll be awesome. You should go listen to that interview as well. It's with the guy from GOG. He's very interesting. Very cool guy indeed. Right, shout-out time, folks. Get them in. Get them in via PM on IRC. Email them to themurloc@gmail.com, and everything will be good, and I will be happy with you. Let's do it. Hail and salutations to TB, the most hated and evil host of shows. You dare look upon the host of shows? I shall live I'd have been a better voice actor than that guy. It wouldn't take much. Can I get a shout out to my friends Driol? What the hell is that? Faja Bikdu and Meffin on Discwood. A Discworld server, that would be great, wouldn't it? Discwood US. All hail before the Murloc. That's from Rethgal. Oh, God. Crazy stuff. Hey, TB, can I get a shout out to the Crimson Guard on Ghostlands EU? We are a small guild, and most members have never stopped or indeed stepped inside a raid instance before. We're about to begin progress in Nax 10 this week. Hell yeah, Nax 10. We're going from the ground up. Well, you know what? If they've never raided before, I think they'll be cool with that. Sounds nifty. I wish I could reset. I wish I could put the reset button and have Nax be fun again. But it never happens. Okay, more shout-out, folks. A shout-out to the new Sony Vaio laptop that Nymph has acquired. There you go. A shout-out to the guild, Knights of the Round on Ultraman US. That is from Sean Caster. Can I get a shout-out to the 30% ICC buff for getting us to 110k HP Bear Tank when he pops Survival Instincts Plux? Awesome idea. Terrible idea, I think you mean by that. Ugh, that's nasty. It really is. Why would you support such a thing? Why would you do that? I cannot imagine. I want to give a special shout-out because I heard that there's going to be some kind of special announcement, and I don't know, it doesn't sound all that great, unfortunately, on VGWProductions.com. It sounds a little serious, so I suggest you might want to check it out. 6 PM EST, that's 11 GMT. So that's in, what would that be, about an hour and a half from now? Yeah, on VGWProductions.com. I do hope everything's okay with Emperor, so you might want to listen to that. Say, it sounds serious. Definitely worthy of your attention. Let's have a look out. Shout out to... let's have a look. A shout out to me, apparently, for being a grumpy bastard. And yeah, that about covers it. And a shout out to you for giving us news without all the journalism of WoW.com. You don't get news from me, you get ranting comments and spurging. Those are the things that you get from me, folks. But Lou seems to be of a different belief. He is wrong, but whatever. Lou, a.k.a. Verix of Argent Dawn US, sends that one in. Yes, indeed. I think we're about done. No, actually, nah, I can fit in a couple more. A shout out to OMG, it's Jay for just dinging. OMG, it's Jay! You just dinged. Congratulations. A shout out to Inglorious Gankers Guild on Magtherin and EU Alliance. And a shout out to me for getting upsetted after my interview to college today. That's from Kiruma. A shout out to my little guild, the Seraphim Nocturnus. And a grats on the Blood Queen kill. Even if you did it without me, I still love you guys on the DB server. Actually, we did that as well. We have killed the Blood Queen. It's awesome. Good fight. I like it. Too much lag in there, though. And a shout out to Rimbal. My failed attempt at an alt and air, he still sucks. That's from Saracen. There you go. You can do it. You can do it. I'm done, folks. Quite frankly. I will actually know one final shout out to Baron Susden, the legendary machinima, or machinimator, whichever you prefer. He's got his YouTube account back after it was unfairly banned, so congratulations for beating the system, which very few people manage. Very impressive. I'm about done, folks. I am out of here. Check out the rest of my shows on cynicalbrit.com. Keep an eye on the website every day. There's always new content going up there. Lots and lots of good stuff. Thank you ever so much for listening. If you do want to leave a tip in the tip jar, you can do that. There's now a recognition wall for those who want to leave a message with their tip. They can do that. CynicalBrit.com. Look at any of the episode pages. There's a Tip the Brit button. It's always very much appreciated and indeed very humbling that people believe this show deserves some monetary recompense. Shall try and do my best for you, as always. I've been TotalBiscuit. This has been Blue Please for the 5th of March. I'm out of here, folks. Good night. You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please, WoW's #1 shock jock show, only on CynicalBrit.com. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment on the Cynical Brit website or write a review of the show on iTunes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.